There's a phrase women say constantly, a seemingly innocent question, and 93% of men completely ignore it. And I'm not exaggerating. A Gottman Institute study revealed that couples who don't recognize these verbal cues have an 81% chance of failing. Today, I'm going to reveal the exact two questions a woman asks when she wants intimacy. And the second question will completely change how you interpret every conversation you have with a woman from now on. But before we get there, you need to understand something no one has ever explained to you. Look, I'm going to tell you something that, as a woman, I find a little frustrating to admit, but it's the truth. We almost never directly say what we want when it comes to intimacy. It's not on a whim, it's not for fun, it's not out of malice. There's a deep psychological reason behind this, and it has to do with thousands of years of evolution, with how our brains process vulnerability, and especially with something psychologists call the emotional safety protocol. And here's where it gets interesting. We don't ask for intimacy with a declaration. We ask for it with questions, with two very specific questions that function like a code. And the most ironic thing of all is that you've heard them dozens of times, maybe hundreds, but every time you heard them, you probably answered with nothing or I don't know, or you simply changed the subject. And at that moment, without realizing it, you closed a door she was opening for you. Today, I'm not only going to reveal what those two questions are, I'm going to explain the exact psychology behind each one, why we use them, what we're evaluating when we ask them, and most importantly, how you should answer if you really want that connection to deepen, because the right answer isn't the one you think it is. And the wrong answer, the one you give by default, is probably the reason why many of your relationships cooled off without you understanding why. But before we get into the questions, you need to understand the whole mechanism, size. Because if I give you the questions without the context, you're going to make the same mistake everyone else makes, memorizing words without understanding the language. I'm going to start with something that might surprise you. Dr. Helen Pfizer, a biological anthropologist and one of the world's leading researchers on romantic love, discovered something fascinating in her functional magnetic resonance imaging studies. When a woman feels attraction and wants to get emotionally close to someone, the areas of her brain that activate first aren't those associated with physical desire, but rather those related to language. The areas responsible for speech production and comprehension are activated before any other region. Snort. This means something crucial. For most women, intimacy begins with words, not touch, not eye contact, but words. And not just any words, but questions. Now, why questions and not statements? This is where things get really interesting. Throughout evolutionary history, women have developed an evaluation mechanism before opening themselves up to intimacy. It's not a modern fad, it's a survival mechanism. Thousands of years ago, a woman who gave herself to intimacy with the wrong man not only risked her emotional well being, but also her life, the lives of her offspring, and her position in the social group. So, the female brain developed a system of pre filters, and these filters operate through questions. Questions that seem casual, but are actually sophisticated tests of emotional compatibility. And this is what almost no one tells you. These questions aren't looking for information, they're looking for a reaction. It's not so much what you answer, but how you answer it. The tone, the speed, the look that accompanies your response. If you take a second to think, or if you answer automatically, that's what she's reading. The question is the hook. Your reaction is what she's really evaluating. The questions of a woman seeking connection almost always have a hidden question behind them, and that hidden question is usually the same. I'm sure of you. That's the key to everything. Every question you're going to hear today is essentially a variation of that same question. Now, let's get to the first one. The first question a woman asks when she wants intimacy is seemingly the simplest in the world. It's so ordinary that you've probably ignored it 1,000 times, and that's precisely why it acts as a filter. The question is, what are you thinking about? That question you've heard 1,000,000 times and probably answered nothing to while staring at your phone. That seemingly insignificant question is actually one of the most powerful signals of intimacy. When a woman asks you what you're thinking, she doesn't just want to know if you're thinking about work or the score of a game. What she's really doing is extending an invitation to connect. She's checking if the emotional bridge between you is still open. She's verifying if you're willing to let her into your inner world. Because for a woman, physical intimacy without mental intimacy feels empty, mechanical, even lonely. When you answer nothing, she perceives that your inner world is a place where she's not welcome. But when you respond with something real, even if it's something simple or even absurd, you're opening a door, you're showing that you're willing to share, and that's incredibly attractive to the female brain. When a woman senses emotional openness in her partner, her brain can release oxytocin, the same hormone associated with intimate physical contact. In other words, a sincere answer to what's on your mind can generate a very deep sense of connection. Now, there's an important detail. This snort question doesn't always mean she wants intimacy. Sometimes she's simply curious. The difference lies in the context. If the question is accompanied by physical contact, a prolonged gaze, or arises during a quiet moment when you're alone, then it's probably an emotional invitation. But that's just the first step. The second question is even more revealing. The second question a woman asks when she wants to deepen the connection often appears in different forms, but they all mean the same thing. The question is, what do you like most about me? It can also come across as, why are you with me? What was the first thing you liked about me? What makes me different? Most men answer this question by talking about something physical: your eyes, your smile, your body. And while those compliments aren't bad, they're often not what she's really looking for. When a woman asks this question, she's not just looking for a compliment, she's looking to know if you truly see her. There's a big difference between looking and seeing. Looking is noticing the surface, seeing is recognizing someone's essence. When you respond with specific details about her personality, her gestures, or her way of being, size, you're showing that you truly observe her. For example, I like how you stand up for someone when you see an injustice. I like that you always ask how my day was, even when yours was tough. I like how you focus when something really matters to you. Those kinds of responses demonstrate attention, emotional memory, and a real connection. And when a woman feels truly seen, something shifts inside her. She relaxes, her body language softens, and the emotional connection deepens. And this is where it all connects. The first question, what are you thinking, opens the emotional channel. The second, what do you like most about me, deepens that channel. Together, they form a kind of natural sequence that many women use to gauge whether emotional and physical intimacy feels safe. But there's something very important to remember. Don't use this knowledge as a technique or a formula. Memorized answers feel artificial, and authenticity always shows. What's truly valuable is practicing genuine observation, paying attention to the details of the people you care about, what genuinely makes them laugh, what worries them, what makes them proud. When you do that, the right answers aren't prepared, they just flow. So, to summarize clearly, the two questions are: what are you thinking? What do you like most about me? The first opens the connection, the second deepens it, and how you answer them can make the difference between a relationship that grows and one that slowly cools quietly. And now there's something else you need to understand. Sometimes a woman doesn't ask these questions. Sometimes, instead of reaching out, she seems distant or cold, as if she doesn't care about you. And many men interpret that as disinterest, but often the reality is more complex. That distance can hide emotions that aren't being expressed directly.